Hi, I'm Steve Sloka, and I'm going to give you a quick overview of Emmie. Emmie is a continuous delivery tool to help facilitate creating feature branch deploys within a Kubernetes cluster. It does this by creating Docker images that are tagged with a feature branch, and then cloning a template namespace, and then creating a new namespace in Kubernetes and deploying all those bits and pieces to that new namespace. This gives you isolation between feature branches, and it gives you parity environments for as much as your capacity exists within your cluster. This allows for better testing, QA, development, also getting user feedback, because you can now deploy specific changes in their own branch and test them live without mocking any pieces. That's the real deal. It's the whole app deployed. So let's go ahead and take a look at what this might look like, what the workflow might look like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at what's deployed today. And today I have one namespace deployed, which is master. And that's the root of my app. So I've deployed one branch. So here's that branch. So this is my DevOps Days talk sample app. And what I want to do is I want to update this for my CodeMash talk coming up. So let's take a look at the workflow of how Emmie can help assist with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check out a new branch. We're going to call it Update CodeMash. And we're going to edit this site. Now what we're going to change for this first piece is the Angular app, which is an AngularJS front end. And here we'll change the name from DevOps Days to CodeMash 2016 2016. Cool. And let's take out the image. Now unfortunately I don't have the CodeMash image handy, so let's just say CodeMash is going to be awesome. And we'll save that. Cool. So let's go ahead and verify that's all I changed. Let's commit that back. So we'll say updated title, push. Okay, so we push that to GitHub. Now what we want to do is I want to go build that branch with Emmie. So I'm going to copy the branch name. And I have a couple things already configured. So let's kick off this job. And the job asks for the branch name, which is going to be update CodeMash. And I'm going to use the Steve Sloka namespace, and this is just to facilitate my Docker images. We say build. Now what I have in Jenkins is I've got a few jobs built already. And the big ones are DB, API, and web. So my application is a 3-tier app. It's an AngularJS app with a Spring Boot API and a MySQL database. So I have a job to build each component of that 3-tier architecture, right? So what's going to happen is each job's going to run. It's going to try and check out that feature branch, and then it'll build a binary, where that's the the Angular dist folder or my jar file. It's going to run my Docker file. It's going to build that Docker image. It's going to tag it with the feature branch name and push that off to my repository. When that's all complete, then Emmie will get kicked in with this job, and this job will say, hey Emmie, go deploy this branch, and then Emmie will take clone the template namespace and create all the new components. So while that's building, let's take a look at that template namespace. So if I look at the application controllers in my namespace, you can see I have 3. I have my web, API, and DB. And similarly, I have 3 services that front those 3 controllers. So when this is done, I would expect to see in the new namespace 3 controllers and 3 services, which is the entire piece of my whole app. Okay, so this should be almost just about done. We can go ahead and take a look at what's been deployed. Now we see we have two branches deployed by Emmie now. And now we have an update CodeMash. So let's go verify that Emmie did what she was supposed to. So let's say get application controllers in the namespace update CodeMash. That was our feature branch name. Oh, CodeMash. There we go. So I have those 3. And then I want to say, let's get the services. All right, so there's my services. Now let's figure out what service the web got. So let's say keep control, describe service web, in the namespace update CodeMash. Okay, so here we can see it got assigned this port. I'm using node ports in my cluster. So if I go to k8s.local and I hop over to that port, what I should see is my app running, but say code mash. Sweet. So that worked, right? The first push is great. But what I forgot to do was update the organizers. So let's do that next. So the first thing we did was update the Angular app. Now let's update the Java app. So what I'm going to do is hop here into my Java app. And what we have is a seed script. So let's go ahead and trash these out. And I did this work ahead of time so we wouldn't have to watch me copy and paste all this. So we're going to paste in the seed script. Now this seeds the MySQL database, which the API will reach into to get the data. So let's create a branch. So git checkout-b update code match. And then let's commit this updated seed for organizers. Let's push this up to GitHub as well. Update code match. Okay, so now I've pushed that up. Now what we want to do is we want to redo that same job, rebuild that same exact thing. So let's copy that out. And let's hop back here to Emmie and say, hey, go build this again. Now what Emmie's smart enough to do is know that, hey, I've already deployed this once. So what it's going to do is just kill the replication controllers or all the pods and make them pull down again. And it'll keep the service ports the same. So if you have a port configured, you don't have to go find it every time. A couple things that Emmie will do when it gets deployed is it'll set the replication count to 1. So if you look at my template controllers, I've set the replicas to 0. And I've done this so that I don't need to consume resources unnecessarily. So Emmie will set that to 1 just to get enough to spin up the app. Emmie will also replace the image name and everything for you. But in this case, we're just going to delete all the pods and reset them. So this should be chugging along, waiting on the web to build. So let's go ahead and watch this. So qt control git pods and the namespace update code mesh. So we can watch this guy restart. You guys see the age is 2 seconds. Now they're all pending. So Emmie got that branch. It killed all the pods. Now what's going to happen is it's going to have to re-pull down the images that were changed. Now in this case, we only changed the API. So I expect everything to start up quickly and the API to take a second. Cool. So that's running. Give it a few more seconds for the app to initialize and boot. And what should happen here is when we refresh this, the contributor list should change. Waiting for Java to boot up. There you go. So now it's pulling it now from the database. So you can see that we've pushed the change. So now the final step would be to code review this, rebase this onto develop, and push this back. And now we've tested it. Now the cool part is we still have the master here running in its own branch, right? So it's running in parallel with my new branch. So I can do this any number of times again. And I hope that gives you a quick overview of Emmie. Check us out on GitHub. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.